Bear with me while I figure this out because we have a lot of people and I'm just adding them all willy-nilly. Something about that formatting got screwed up. What the hell did I do? Oh, there we go. Oh, I dragged Chris in by accident. All right. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome back to ReelNorthernBass.
Doing good.
We are joined by quite a few guests tonight. We will do formal introductions in a moment. But before we do that, the one and only thing I want to talk about that is not related to Swimbaits is the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo. That is this weekend, March 7th to 9th, at the Hampshire Dome in Milford, New Hampshire. I'll be there for my booth, ReelNorthernBass. Did get confirmation that Big Bass Dreams, Defiant, Biwa, and I think we might have some Black Spirit Swimbaits will also be there. We'll be in one giant booth. Booth 625. It'll be in the back right corner. I'll be doing a seminar, different seminar, all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't remember what times I'm doing all these, but I don't know. There's one every day. So if you're interested, please come on down. It's very easy to get there. And by all means, stop by. I'm reloading on apparel. Actually, we'll pick it up tomorrow. So I have more flannels, sun shirts, finally, people have been asking for. So I will have all of that there. In the meantime, for everybody that is already here, thank you very much. For everybody that shared the stream ahead of time, thank you. Like, that was phenomenal. I think it's probably the most shares we've had in like the last couple of years. So apparently a lot of you guys are excited for this one. Do me a favor, whether you watch on YouTube or Facebook, drop a like on this, please. It helps immensely with just everything that we're trying to do with this. And I've talked enough. I wanted to keep it quick. I think I did all right. So, Sean, you were really the mastermind behind putting this together. So I'm going to leave it to you to do the introductions for everybody.
Sure.
Facilitate the introductions.
All right. So before we get into it, I'm going to insert my own shameless plug here for everyone as well. For those of you that have seen the post that I made for Douglas Rods, it was on my story on Instagram, Facebook, and I made a post on both about it. Douglas is selling some rods online. You can go to douglasoutdoors.com and use code SPMFishing10, all one word, for 10% off of your order. There are some sale rods on there, so it tacks on another 10% off on top of that. And then coming next week, there is a giant Swimbait blowout sale that will be loaded on the site. I cannot give you any more details at this point, but obviously being a Swimbait show, for those that are looking to get into the Swimbait game or kind of up your arsenal, Douglas Rods will be having an unbelievable sale on their website. So check it out. We'll definitely make sure to let you all know when it's live on the site, and then you can go next week and check it out. Enough of my shameless plug. We are joined by an absolute unit of guys here on the stream tonight. So in no particular order, we'll introduce all of them to you, and I'm just going to kind of go right around the horn here the way you see it on the screen. So up here, we have a buddy of mine who lives locally here in upstate New York, Jose. He works at Doc's Tackle. He is a huge Swimbait junkie. Everyone knows him on the universe. So go ahead, Jose, and introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, my name is Jose. Like Sean said, been swimbaiting since I think 2018, 2017-ish. It was about the baits initially, but it became more about the community and the culture. About the first gathering I went to, met the most burliest, nastiest looking dudes that scared the crap out of me, to be honest. And I saw them melt like little girls when they saw my daughter. So Isabella became a little swimbait princess. These big burly dudes just kind of melted like butter in her hands. The way we were welcomed in the community, I was just hooked. So the baits now I buy are just more from friends kind of thing. But man, the community is what I'm about with it. Like Sean said, I work at Doc's Tackle. I help manage the shop out there. We're growing the swimbait community in Western New York. I'm very proud to say, we got Austin's baits in the shops. Maybe Kyle's at some point here.
Absolutely.
But, we're just growing that market. We have, KGBs. We have Depths. We got my bullshit. Mike Buca is a good friend of mine. Hands down my favorite bait maker. No offense to the guys on the panel here, but I've been a Buca nut since the day I met him. I got an awesome picture. I'll probably pull it down at some point of Swimbait Jesus, which is Wayne, that he's wearing a shirt with Isabella and I. But the dude's just been awesome. He was the first guy we got in, and I've just kind of been hooked ever since.
And Jose did not mention that they are also one of the largest Douglas rod dealers as well in the country. So if you're in the upstate New York area, stop by, see Jose, see Drake, see the guys over there. and come check out the rods. Then we have down here, we got Kyle from Throwback Baits, and he is representing the, I guess, northern middle of the country here in
the Midwest, if you want to call it that. So,
yeah, go ahead, take it away.
My name's Kyle. Like Sean said, I own Throwback Baits. Started it in 2020 out of my shop just here in the back of the house, and brought on a couple good buddies in 2022 and grew it to something bigger than I ever thought it could really be. And now we got a big shop and a whole crew of guys and a whole team working for us, and just trying to stay above water. They're all good problems, and just couldn't be more thankful for, where we are right now. And like Jose said, got into Universe right away as soon as I started, just like open arms. It was great to just have a community kind of absorb you and, encourage you and get pumped about the stuff you're making, and just keep you kind of, it's fun to just share ideas and pictures and have feedback. And you can be, I spent 2 years just by myself in the shop building, but it's never felt really alone because you had, a community backing you. So super thankful for, the Roots and Universe and everything that has just launched us to where we are now.
Very awesome. And then last but not least, down here, we got Austin. He's with Sensei Swimbaits, and he is coming to us from the far west coast in Washington State. So, Austin, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll save the best for last. I get it. My name's Austin. Own Sensei Swimbaits since 2023, I think, is when I really started it. We really just got into it just for the fun of it. Big baits have always been intriguing to me, and it just seemed like a fitting thing to do. I know I like the art, that was always the side that, like, even going up there, like growing up in high school, like I just loved art. It's just my thing. So seeing some of these baits and some of the way they looked and acted in the water, I was like, man, there's no way I couldn't at least try this. So hopped on the internet, how it is with YouTube and Google these days. You can kind of get all the information and knowledge you really need, but a lot of mine was kind of just trial and error. But I started carving away and had some fun with it. And then my buddy Ian, he's out here. I got to take a ferry to get across to him, but he helps me out. So it just makes it a little bit tough. We go back and forth on the ferry to get baits and stuff back and forth when we're pouring and painting on either side of the water here. So, but yeah, we're just here to have fun and make some cool baits. And, like everybody's already said, the community's been really awesome. Been open arms to us, and seeing all the fish catches, just happy customers and people just having fun out there fishing. It's what we all love to do. That's why I think a lot of us got into fishing in general. It's just fun. So seeing everybody else catch fish on our baits is pretty damn fun. So
I gotta say that's probably gonna be one of the most satisfying things. Aside from going through that process of designing your own bait, having an idea in your head, and going through all the trial and error to get it to a point where, like, hell yeah, that's exactly what I had in mind. But then to see, like, either complete strangers or friends of yours pick it up and stick like a pig on it, like that's gonna put you over the moon happy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, I just remember the first catch. It was actually by Ian. Man, I just lost it. Because his stoke got me stoked, and then we were both stoked together, and then from there it just snowballed. But yeah, seeing people's happiness is truly one of the best feelings from a bait maker standpoint, I think.
I may have said this in the past on previous shows when we've talked about, just the swim bait community as a whole here, and I'll repeat it again, or maybe this is the first time I'm saying it. I look at the swim bait community very much like what the community was for me when I used to ride BMX and skateboarding. Like, it was always about that camaraderie. Like, there was very little competition amongst everyone, and like you still had it, but the vast majority it was just like very welcoming and open armed, and everybody was always hyping each other up to do as well as you could. Even in the very few competitions I tried to compete in, I sucked, but still it was fun. And like, even guys like watching some of my friends that were exceptionally better than me, and then like other guys that we knew that they were going toe to toe, and they were like exchanging places with scores, and like everybody was just so stoked for each other. Like I don't know, every time we get to talk about the community as a whole, and especially with bait makers like yourselves, like that's that same kind of vibe that I get out of it. There's very little head biting and a ton of support for one another.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've had a lot of support from other builders, painters, you name it. Guys that have been throwing baits just for a long time that just understand them. It's just been a cool community. Everybody's been helpful.
Nice.
There's a few bad apples, but
yeah. It doesn't matter what you get into. There's always going to be a few, and it's fine. It's whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We just ignore those people.
So
yeah, we do.
So I think go ahead.
I said before you get too deep into it, like we have a ton of people in here that are watching now, and as this conversation continues to go on, don't be bashful. If you have questions for any one of us, but in particular our guests, like start firing them out. We'll get to them as quickly as we can. But again, don't be bashful. Like this is an opportunity for you to learn from whatever it is that this group can share. But if we're not talking about something that you have a very specific question on, fire it out. Don't worry about it. We will get to it. But go ahead, Sean.
For sure. No, I was just going to kind of lay out the format for everyone, so everyone kind of understood the general format for tonight, right? And then you can base your questions around there. Like, kind of think where we want to start is to kind of talk about how each one of you guys got involved in swim baits. Like how you got your start, and then kind of go through the what you throw, when you throw it, where you throw it, how you throw it, why you throw it, hard swim baits, soft swim baits, every type, right? Crawlers, wakes, crank downs, like you name it. We're going to kind of try to touch on it and go through it. So like Sean said, drop a comment on Facebook or YouTube here, and we will definitely, get to your comments. So I'm going to throw this out as kind of an open-ended general, question for the three of you. Whoever wants to take it first is welcome to take it. How did you get your start? What made you go, I want to spend way too much money on these giant swim baits, or a fish is going to chomp this thing for sure? Do what you want with that question. How the hell did you go, I want to do this?
Who wants to start?
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll start. Well, I had a couple local guys, a couple buddies that were just swim bait enthusiasts already. Watching them catch fish, it just blew my mind, right? Like you first get into the bass fishing, you throw in Stenkos, and like a 5-inch worm already seems big. And then all of a sudden now you're seeing these giant, 10, 11-inch baits flying around. You're like, the fuck is this? How do I get a hold of this? So I went fishing with them, had a couple, I never actually caught an actual swim bait fish for probably like the first year and a half, maybe, of throwing big baits. But I actually bought a hoog, was probably one of my first like true big glides that I was like, all right, I'm willing to spend the money. I'm just going to get it. And we have a trout stock in every lake out here. So it just made sense to try a trout bait. So I tried it, and man, like the first 10, maybe 15 casts, like it just snapped, bomb cast, and gone. Didn't even know how to cast a swim bait proper yet. Overhead whip casting the hell out of them. And that's really what kind of got me started into building baits. But ultimately it was just watching everybody. And then of course you see it on Facebook, you see it on Instagram, you see it everywhere on social media. It's just everybody's catching these giant fish on swim baits. And again, me just being the art kind of guy, I just see this realistic looking fish. That's pretty fucking cool. I want to try this and see what this is about. So that's ultimately what got me into it.
Sick.
That's awesome. That's what I like to hear.
So I'll go next. This must have been 2018. I was a videographer before all of this, so I was just a freelance videographer, and ended up I think I booked a training session with Oliver from Big Bass Streams in Wisconsin for Father's Day. So it was me and my dad. So we went out and drove to Wisconsin, hammered the smallies for a day, and just obviously chatted with Oliver all day. And he was like, "Hey, what do you do for work?" And I told him that I'm a videographer, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm doing like a big muskie tour up in northern Minnesota." I'm like, "Well, that's where I'm from." And it just kind of worked out. We agreed to just do kind of not a trade more so, but I was just like, "Yeah, let's come film for you, and we'll just see where it leads." And give him baits and stuff like that. And it wasn't really about the payment, but it was just fun. I was just able to go film with him. But we did like 2 days up on Leech Lake, and then we did 4 days up on Lake of the Woods. And that was like the first time that I had ever seen a big bait. Like he's rigging up these Defiant 8s and 10s or the 247s or whatever it's called.
Yeah, 210s and 247s. Yeah.
He's rigging them up with these big blades. Yeah, exactly like that. And so we're throwing those with big streamers for muskies. And I'm just like, holy cow, this is cool. He's like crimping stuff on the boat and I'm filming all of it. I'm just like, my head is just, I rewind to like me being 2 or 3 years old. I've been obsessed with fishing forever. Like growing up in Minnesota, there's 11,000 lakes here. It's like kind of all you do growing up. So like I love fishing my whole life. So I just, kind of get into combine like videography, my other love, and meeting Oliver, and then get to film all this cool swim bait stuff. Just got my gears turning. So did the trip in Canada, did a couple more days on Mille Lacs, made a big video of it. And then I got home and I was like, I got to get a big bait. I got to throw something. And I remember texting Oliver. I'm like, what should I get? He's like, get a bull shed. He's like, they're cheap. They're awesome. They work. So I ordered I think it was a 4x4, it was a bull wake. Went out that day fishing and caught my first fish on it, sent it to Oliver. I was like, dude, I'm hooked. That was it. Yeah. And that from there, I just, I went home and I was like, I gotta make a bait. I bought a block of wood off Amazon. I was like, I just got to carve something and try to make this because it was so cool. I love making stuff with my hands, and everything just kind of led to this really cool moment of just having to build something. And I don't know how far you want me to go into the process of building, but that's how I got into swim baits.
All right. Yeah. I mean, we'll touch on that a little bit later, kind of as we go down the rabbit hole. Right now, we're just kind of dancing along the top here, but before we fall into a topic here, but yeah, we'll definitely talk about some bait building and stuff like that. Cause I know Austin started building it cause he started losing everyone else's baits that he just said. So he figured it would be cheaper to start building his own. I'm going to tee Jose up here a little bit because, Jose, on the other hand, I feel like came out of the womb with the swim bait in his hand. I'm going to leave it right there, Jose. How did you start fishing, Jose?
So I was in the military, so I bounced around a lot. So I was a live bait guy my entire life. Bobber, worm, all over the place. I was the dude ocean fishing with a bobber. That's how high tech I was. And everywhere I got like kind of stationed, I'd meet a guy who taught me how to spinnerbait fish. I learned how to drop shot in Japan. Just little things like that. I got stateside. I got out of the military. I moved up to New York, and I got a lucky tackle box. And my lucky tackle box is like 2017-ish. I got a BWAP bait, giant bait, about yay big, And I started throwing that thing around. It's about 4 inches. And I got some paddle tails, some Kitex and whatnot. And I was like, man, I'm a swim baiter. I didn't know.
Did you just say giant bait and it was 4 inches? That'll get you kicked off the universe now.
Dude,
anyways, go ahead.
Back then, that was huge. So I call myself a swim baiter. I meet this guy. I'm in my first kayak event. This dude named Clayton George here locally. I pull up to the ramp, and he got word that I'm a swim baiter, right? And he laughs at me. He didn't even know me from nothing. He's like, "You're a swim baiter?" I'm like, "Who the hell are you? What did I do to you to piss you off?" He pulls out a 9-inch phony, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" I go, "That's okay." Like, damn, he just went like this. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what the hell to expect. I'm like, all right. So apparently there's a whole other subsect of no shit swim baits. So I started getting into that. There was no way in hell I was going to drop $100 on a bait ever. I was that guy. And despite the wall behind me, I'm still that guy. I have a hard time dropping money on baits. But I found a Silent Killer 145. And for those of you at home that don't know, it's about a 5-inch bait. And I remember stepping on this thing in the pond. It was some muddy pond. We don't live in a swim bait area. So someone around here, if it's yours, I apologize. I'll give it back to you. It's been about 7 years. I put a lot of fish on it. I'll give it back hands down. But I looked at that thing. I was like, holy shit, who's fishing for sharks around here? I made that same smart-ass comment that everybody makes when I pull up to a ramp. So I get this thing, and I'm looking at it like, look at this stupid thing. It took me 6 months to throw it. Following kayak season, first event out there, nothing. I'm like, all right, whatever. Second event, I took second place on it. I'm like, oh shit, okay, might be something there. Then I got into a little bit of the hype train. I learned about bullshit just like Kyle did. I saw what I liked, and I was like, I'm gonna buy one of them. It's $50. That's a lot of damn money, but I'm gonna pull the trigger. Got that. Started catching on it. I slated on that Silent Killer. It was just one thing after another. So long-winded way of saying it, I never learned how to throw a jig. I never learned how to throw a jerk bait. I never learned how to throw any stuff that you learn in elementary school of fishing to do. So I can take a jig 10 times in my hands and throw it. If I don't get bit, I'm not touching that damn thing the rest of the year. And that's just dumb. That's a great thing to throw in our waters everywhere around the country. I have zero confidence in it. But I can pick up a 9-inch phony and sling it till my arm falls out because every cast is like, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. Every cast, I have that kind of stupid confidence in it. Whereas a jig, a drop shot, what's that crap that kids are doing nowadays, the video game? I don't like any of that. That's just not what I like.
Pinging a minner.
Pinging a minner.
Yeah, I kind of teed you up there, right? Because like Jose, I think took a non-traditional path into the swimbait world. Like a lot of us, like we start fishing with conventional tackle and we start catching fish and we enjoy it and we buy more conventional tackle and we're talking about these like cool new like mini micro jig heads or chatterbaits and stuff like that. And Jose, we're just speaking a foreign language to Jose. I mean, if it's not an 11-inch giant trout or something like that, he's not interested. And now he's the opposite, where he's like, I got to learn how to throw the smaller stuff, but and the more traditional stuff. So I tried to tee him up a little bit here. It was kind of a setup, Jose, sorry, but he's got a very unique approach to kind of the swimbait game and now the conventional tackle too. So that's a super cool start. I think we just go, Sean, if you got something, go ahead. But I think we just go right down the rabbit hole, the where, what, when, where, how, why.
I do want to share something because like I forget, it was 2017 or 2018 when Spro had, I kept calling it a triple trout. It was like a 3-piece, not a glide, but I don't even know what the hell Spro called it. And I was like, that looks cool. And it was only like 5 inches. And I caught a fish on it my second trip out. I was like, oh, that was awesome. And I got a Huddleston Deluxe 68 the next season. And it took me 2 more years before I even got a bite on it. But the day I caught a fish on it was, to that point, was the best. Jesus, until 2 or 3 years ago, was the best 5-fish bag I've ever done solo. And I caught a 515 largie, and then I caught a 505 on that Deluxe 68. And I'm like, okay, now I'm like really starting to get into it. Then I got into like, from everything, I got into crankdowns. Then I started picking up wakes and then glides. And 3 years ago, I got to a point where I was like, man, I enjoy this so much. And for the record, so I'm not full of shit here when I say I like talking to people about the design process. I did try making my own bait at one point. And I'm not artistic. I cannot carve. I took 2 attempts. This is as far as I got. I got 3 years ago. I even made myself a nice little template, which is kind of hard to see, but I got to a point where I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool for something like a little fun size thing. And then honest to God, don't remember what the fuck I was doing with that, but I started with another profile. I did all that 3 years ago when we actually had like a normal winter. And I went and bought a belt sander and I got a carving knife and I went and got some like decent wood. And I was like, this will be fun. And I never picked it back up once I realized how hard it was just to do that. So I was like, you know what? There's a lot of guys I can buy baits off of. I'll just keep supporting them. But I got excited because when we were talking about it, I forgot that they're right there on this shelf that I have with like my carving knife and stuff. And I keep forgetting to kind of look back at this to remember the one time that I took a crack at it. I wanted to make my own like little 3-piece crankdown, and I wanted to make one of these was going to end up being something I could pour soft baits out of because I started falling in love with the working class 0 Citizen 6, but then trying to get my hands on it was a nightmare. And I wasn't going to try and replicate it. It was just like, I'm going to try and make a soft body swim bait, like similar in size to that. And I'll just see if I can make it work and I'll pour it myself. And none of this went anywhere, but clearly the desire and the love for doing this is there because I spent all that money for stuff that I never did anything with in the end. But I don't know. Anyway, that's how I got into it. Since then, I've just been very happy to try and support as many different brands as possible. Last year, I took a big step back from it because I just had a really, really bad year mentally anyway. Fishing suffered as a result. So like I was like, I'm not even going to do big swim baits that much this year. I'm going to go back to just fishing traditional as much as possible, and I'll save the swim baits for another day. And I'm looking forward to really diving into them a lot harder this year as I do more exploring, especially in Maine. That's a state I have not explored as much as I should. There's a ton of ponds and lakes out there and way less anglers. So, kind of best case scenario for me to go out there and see if I can actually finally stick an 8. That would be my goal, but I don't know. anyway, that's me. That's how I got into the swim bait side of things and how deep I got into it and where I currently stand.
Nice. Well, you touched on something, Sean, about like, kind of how you took a step away from it. And we had talked on previous streams too, how I kind of like last year really jumped in, not even with both feet, like just the whole body. I was like, all right, this is happening. And I just like forced myself to throw a swim bait every single time that I touched the water, whether it was great out, terrible out, cold, warm, windy, sunny, raining, like didn't matter. I always threw a swim bait and kind of like tried to teach myself when I needed to throw it, where I needed to throw it, what bait I needed to throw. And so I think that that's kind of a good segue into, you could throw a swim bait year round and have success. In the Northeast, obviously, like throwing a swim bait through the ice is a little bit trickier of a task here, or in the North. But I think, let's go through, you three guys, let's go through when you're throwing your swim baits, and let's kind of start at the beginning of the year in the springtime, right? After ice out, or, if you've got open water in the winter, as the spring kind of approaches where we're at right now, what bait are you picking up? Where are you throwing it? How are you throwing it? What's your cadence, your retrieve, the whole 9 yards? We're now entering the rabbit hole, and go.
I started last time.
Jose, come on.
So first cast is always going to be a bull rat. I'm just a sucker for the rat. I've been bit on that thing in December, 38-degree water at night, when, you're not supposed to get bit on it. I've been bit on it, definitely when they're on beds. I like hitting a bed from on top. So they'll come up and they'll eat a rat. So I can slow roll it, I'll creep it. The other one I'm going to pick up is a 4x4. So the 4x4 is just magical. You crank that thing down, you kind of beat rocks, beat bank. You throw it in the nastiest cover and it comes right through. Cayuga comes to mind. The bridges are no secret. I'm not giving away any juice. The biggest community hole on the planet. But you can go out there and just absolutely wreck them with a 4x4. Coincidentally, it's the only time I catch pike on Cayuga Lake too. They're just around the area. Those are my number one and number two this time, beginning of the year. As soon as ice goes out, the one thing is I have the most of are glides, and I can't stand them. I suck at glide bait fishing. I am the king of 300 followers a year, and maybe 10 bites. All 10 bites are fun and decent, but the biggest fish show themselves. So then I pick up my purse, I pick up a Ned rig, and I see the fish where it went, and I attack it, and I end up I try to catch them that way. But I'm trying to really figure out that glide bait bite because that's what I should be throwing as soon as the ice goes out. I just haven't quite figured it out. A lot of fun. I've had success here and there, but not as much as I've had with swimmers, crank downs, and top waters.
Where are you starting on the body of water, though? Are you starting shallow? You starting deep? You starting on points? You starting main lake? You starting in, like back in little cutouts and creeks and tributaries and stuff? Like where do you start to break down that pattern?
This isn't me being a smartass, but honest to God, man, I have no science or biology or any smarts to this whatsoever. I basically look around, I'm like, that looks good. And I don't know why. I just look up and I see it. It could be a point. It could be where that, little creek runs into the main lake there, little muddy water. I'm a shallow water guy all day. 99% of the time I'm fishing shallow because that's where I do my most damage. But I mean, I can't even tell you where I look at something. I'm like, there's science behind it. Like, oh man, they're going to stage up right here and ambush because of this. None of that goes through my head. It's all gut and instinct. So I look at an area like Keuka Lake, for instance. Keuka Lake is a very deep water, has a real steep drop off. It goes from super shallow down to 20 almost instantly. You can wreck them on a 4x4, not cranking in anything in 15 foot of water. And there's no man's land. There's no point. There's no creek running in. There's no structure. I have no idea why those fish are there. I don't know if it's that subtle transition where they come up and eat or go down and hide. I don't know what it is, but I've wrecked them on a 4x4, 15 foot of water on that transition in no man's land. I look around. I don't like being crowded. I mean, I like to hit places where nobody else is hitting. Maybe it's me kind of trying to be a loner, but yeah, that's kind of where my thought process goes there.
You just look for a fishy area and then just send it.
Yep.
All right.
And when do you guys figure out what I'm seeing? help educate me because I have no clue. I want to get better at this. I don't know what the hell I'm doing when I'm out there doing it.
You know Jose is a shallow water fisherman when he says 20 feet deep on Cuca is deep, because Cuca is far deeper than 20 feet. Jose, you got to leave the boat launch in order to get more than 20 feet, buddy. That's
in 6 inches of water.
I know.
It's hard.
That's awesome. All right, Kyle, Austin, who wants to spring ice out? What are you throwing? Where are you starting?
So for me, I mean, I'm a huge crank down and glide fan. Early on, like we don't really freeze over, so we don't get a whole lot of ice. We might get a little bit, like just like a thin layer across the surface or something like that on some of our lakes, but for the most part, we really don't freeze over. So we can kind of throw wake baits year round on some of our lakes. You know, we got everything from a shallow grassy lake all the way out to deep, 500, 600, 700 foot reservoir. So it really just depends on what I'm going for. But if I'm going for, I'll just start with smallmouth. Like smallmouth is probably my favorite go-to. I mean, that's what ultimately got me hooked back into bass fishing with smallmouth. So I like to focus on those, but they like to run deep. So this time of year, I mean, I'll just take one of my glides and I'll just weight that sucker and I'll just get it down as far as I can go. Usually I just run right above their head. I'll try to sit up in like 20, 30 foot, maybe even shallower, depending on where they're at. But, and I'll bring it from downhill up. And usually they'll fire up on it and come grab it, or at least take a look at it. Damn fish just like to come up and turn and run away. I'm not a huge soft bait guy. What's that?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. Grat.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
I was about to just message him, so I didn't want to interrupt, but that's fucking huge. Thank you, Grat. Thank you very, very much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
Back to you, Austin. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'm just not a huge soft bait guy. I've been trying to get back into them. I wouldn't say even back into them, but it's starting to throw them more in the last couple of years. The most current one that I'm excited to start catching fish on is JP Hatch one. It's a giant, like 6-inch line through goby, which I'm a huge line through guy. I like a lot of the line throughs. So, but again, I'm not a big soft guy. But if I were to throw one during early spring, I'm pretty sure I could get bit out there on them too.
You said something that I want to make sure. Please remind us later to touch on targeting smallmouth with big swim baits. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't have the confidence in, don't believe that they can do, but can absolutely do. And get some like crazy, just absolutely just get fucking pounded on a big swim bait from smallies. I mean, everyone knows what it feels like when smallie just trucks their conventional tackle. Now put that on a giant swim bait and it's freaking cool as hell. So I definitely want to touch on that later. So if we forget, someone please bring it up, because that's something that I want to touch on, especially being in the north here with like smallmouth country. For all of us, really, like we got to talk about smallmouth and big baits. So definitely put a bug in our ear if we forget to talk about that. Kyle, last but not least.
Good segue talking about smallies. So we definitely ice over here. Oh, I gotta make sure I don't lose my battery. All right. We definitely ice over here from about like late November until April. We have like 10 inches of ice right now in every lake. So pretty much shut down and fishing in the winter and just build baits. But once ice out happens, the glide for sure is probably my go-to. Our Metro Glide, the little 7-inch glide. Last year, this is a crazy bite that we got on, but there's this area of lakes in northern Minnesota that bleeds into Canada called the Boundary Waters. And it's canoe access only, and it's the untouched, like God's country up there. So we got up there, and it was early. I think it was early May. Yeah, it was early May. So it had just been ice out. So it's like 45-degree water temps. And we're fishing the glide, and we're kind of just slow twitching them. I'm thinking they don't want anything fast because it's like not even pre-spawn, like pre-spawn. Like these fish had just came out of ice. So we're working them this way, and all of a sudden my buddy just like figured out this bite. And we're burning the bait. for like 3 seconds to get it pumping as much as you can and then killing it and letting it sit for, I'm talking like 4 seconds. And they just started coming unglued. And the only thing I can like really relate this to is like a jerkbait bite, a pre-spawn jerkbait bite, a cold water jerkbait bite. So like this bait is moving super fast and then it pauses and we have them like nice and tuned for slow sinks. What? You good? Yeah, you can. Oh no, I need this for this. Sorry, I need that. Oh, yeah, I gotta plug it in. I can't reach it right now, but I will plug it in. Sorry. Xbox controller charge.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just like, so it's like a jerkbait bite is how I'm fishing this glide, and it was crazy. I took that from that up north trip and applied it like to our local lakes, and we're 6 hours south of that, and we just start catching fish like this. And I've never worked the glide that fast and just like paused it in my life, but this whole new bite came into play. So that's something I'll be applying come spring this year. Outside of the glide, we have been working on a softie for almost a year now, so I'm going to be throwing that a lot. The presentation on that is going to be, it's like a slow sink, really, really big wedge tail, but you're able to creep it really slow and have the wedge tail keep kicking. So I'm excited to roll it across beds, keep it up shallow. I'm there with Jose. I'm a shallow water fisherman. I definitely rely on instinct a lot, but once I get into an area, I'm like, okay, why are the fish here? Where are they going to be? And I have my milk run of lakes that I kind of I'm able to break down every spring. So I feel like I know patterns pretty well with the lakes that I fish and the baits that I fish them with. But I would say early spring is like wait till the dead of day, highest sun, the warmest water temps, and the fish come up shallow and start cruising around, and you just pick them off with the glider or softie.
So you're looking for the warm water. Are you looking for just warm water? Are you looking for bait? You looking for cover? What are you looking for? What kind of bottom? Sure. What kind of bottom composition?
Yeah, hard bottom. I like I said, I don't know. I'm not crazy in depth on this, but I assume that I've always had more success in hard bottom. Any mucky areas in the shallow in the spring, there's nothing there. There's no vegetation, and granted, there's not a lot of vegetation on the hard bottoms, but I think they're up scoping around for beds, and you just can, the tricky part about spring here is that like these lakes are clear, and if they see you up shallow poking around, they're spooked. They're gone. So it's a lot of long bomb casts on, points or nice big shallow flats. But yeah, hard bottom is what we focus on the most.
Hard bottom's always consistent. It's nice that the mushy bottom areas in the spring. It's weird. Like I've had a couple of people tell me like those tend to warm up the fastest because it's a dark bottom, so it absorbs more sunlight. And like I do find that true, but unless there's presentation or vegetation also present in those areas, then same deal. I don't find them as anywhere near consistent as I do in areas like nice, clean, hard packed bottom areas.
Agree.
Yeah, and it's that transition area, like you said. You said it perfect. They're moving up, and even though it's not anywhere close to spawn time, they're still hanging out in those same areas, and they're just staging. They're getting ready because everything else is going to gravitate towards those shallow water spots, that warm water, so they can quickly feast. Yep. Don't have to go far, then they can move up and spawn when the weather calls for it. And it's dead consistent no matter where I go early spring, like immediately after ice out. I
would say point to what you just said too, is that like access to deep water so that they don't have to travel far. I mean, I feel like maybe they're lazy at that point, but like if you're talking about big shallow bay, like they're not going to be all the way back. I think they sit in the deep water. I think they come up when that sun gets up and start cruising around, do what they got to do, and they dip right back in. It's that transition to keep it nice and simple for them, I guess.
Well, it's interesting too, like in to what you're talking about with like deep water, shallow water, the whole 9 yards. And it sounds like the overall consensus is like, you guys like to throw giant swim baits in shallow water, even at the beginning of the spring or the end of the winter. And so like what I find interesting too is like as traditional conventional fishermen and women, we're always taught that like you start out deep in kind of like the winter holes in their winter homes, and you start to work up towards some of those shallower, some of those like little creek channels and stuff like that get them towards those spawning grounds. But like in ice out, they're still in that deep, warmer, stable water until the water kind of flips. But everything you guys are saying is you guys are just going with presentations that are relatively high in the water column and shallow. Right. And so I think that's pretty interesting to kind of point out is like everything we're taught in the conventional world, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, too, right? Like, and you guys too, I'm sure you throw other conventional stuff when the water's like, super hot or super cold, like they often tend to stay in that like deeper, like more stable water temp and conditions and stuff. And that's where, like, there's a lot more oxygen in the summertime in the colder water, and it's a lot warmer for them in the colder water, like when the ice is there in the deeper water, because that's where the kind of warmer water sits. So we're kind of taught to start deep, and then as the water warms up, then work shallower as you get towards that pre-spawn. So it's pretty interesting to see you guys like just always just want to go to that like shallow area next to some deep water. So it's kind of just something I wanted to point out.
Yeah, and it depends on the type of fishery that you're going after too. Like in the spring, last year was a little bit different, but it's kind of an outlier. Typically, I like going after the really small bodies of water. We have kettle ponds everywhere. They're just little glacial potholes everywhere, and they don't get that deep. Average max depth on them is like 10 to 12 feet. So by the nature of those bodies of water, they are not deep at all. They're just pretty shallow. And for those fish will move up stupid shallow way earlier than most people give them credit for. And that's something I learned several years ago. And for the longest time, I never thought it'd be possible. Like, oh man, ice out was a week ago and it's not really been that warm, but lo and behold, I caught a 5 and a foot of water. It just, they like to go shallower sooner than people think. But then, then I get into a bigger, deeper body of water, some of those deeper glacial lakes that 1,500 acres plus, it doesn't even have to be that big, like even 500 acres plus, but where 60+% of that body of water is like 30 to 40 feet deep or deeper. Places like that, 9 times out of 10 are going to start out deep, unless there's been a significant warming trend, like at least a week after ice out. Then, yeah, and not say, just like the little kettle pond, those fish want to move up so shallow, so fast, and I will look every single chance that I get. Because even on days where on those deeper bodies of water, you don't have the warming trend, I still will find a couple up there shallow. And it's always worth looking. Doesn't always pan out, but it pans out often enough. It's like, I'm still going to go shallow, even on bigger bodies of water where typically, yeah, I would start out deep because that's where I'm much more consistently successful. But boy, those shallow cruisers, they're worth the chase and the look every single time.
It's a big misconception, man. Like, you're right. I mean, you're supposed to be fishing out deep. Sean knows our Finger Lakes. Every Finger Lake we have is at least 30 feet deep to 150 feet to, Cayuga is like 5 something. I haven't quite got to the bottom of that one yet. But, I'm not that guy. I have all the bells and whistles. I have the light scope. I have the toys and tools to get out deep and fish that waterway. I'm the guy at Oneida Lake fishing 6 inches of water, chasing greenfish. Everybody on that lake is chasing smallies. I love it, man. Yeah, other Sean there. Go deep. Have at it. Leave that shallow shit to me. It's all good. There's no fish there. That place sucks. I got it. But, the mindset of, like, there's always just a resident population, regardless of the time of year, that I found in my experience that lives shallow, like dirt shallow. I caught a 5.5 pounder at Hemlock Lake in a foot of water. And I swear to God, I saw bass fry in 38-degree water. That makes no sense. That should not be there. That should not have been the case. It was lush green grass, mid-December, cold as hell water, and I pulled a 5.5 out with a glide. A glide, coincidentally, because I suck at glides, but I caught a big fish. But, what I found is every time I start overthinking it, I get humbled because I see bait popping in, inches of water. Susquehanna River, I don't know if you guys have fished it. That's arguably my favorite water on the planet. I did the Bassmaster last year. I'm the dumbass throwing 6-inch bull shads, bull rats in 6 inch water. It's the worst water level condition in years there. Like, it's bone dry. You got to take your kayak and kind of carry it over rocks. And I smoked a 19.5-inch smallmouth in 6 inches of water. And I caught 3 of my 5 fish limit on a rat. That made no sense. Why? Again, I don't understand that. And I need to figure that out because I want to be good at this someday. And I'm getting to the end of my lifespan. I'm running out of time. I got to start figuring this shit out. But I'm so stubborn and I'm lazy and I just enjoy throwing the baits. But I've just made I kind of cut my teeth shallow. I like it. I can go out deep at Cuca. I keep bringing up Cuca Lake. That's the one anomaly, man. I can be in 35, 40 foot of water and I'm catching on a rat still. The drawing power of the swim bait to me is so much more effective than live scope. To me, I'm a firm believer. Live scope gives me this beam right here. Wherever I point, I see. but I can cast a swim bait out there, and now I'm pulling from 50 yards in either direction. Those fish are coming out of the woodworks. They might not bite it, but it's giving me the confidence to know that something's coming out, take a look at it, and I'm going to sit there and pick it apart. More often than not, like, I'm very much a visual guy. Like I said, that gut, that instinct, for whatever reason, just called me to that area. Swim baits solidify that kind of gut feeling. It makes me feel like, hey, I'm not a dumbass sometimes. Live scope makes me feel like a dumbass because now I know they're there and they're not biting. If I don't see them with a swim bait, they're just not there. It has nothing to do with me. I can't suck that bad. But, you know, that swim bait thing at least gives me the confidence to keep picking that area apart.
So I don't know if you guys know them, Swimbait Scrutiny. They're Tyler and Tom. And Tyler lives here in New Hampshire still. Tom just moved to Florida. But, you know, like, they got their channel. We've had them on twice now, I think. And I think it was Tom that said it best about the draw of big swim baits. It's just like, it's a giant meal, right? Lifelike, it's a giant meal and it's worthwhile. It's the difference between, like, you know, throwing finesse stuff and a big swim bait is like us sitting on the couch under a blanket in the middle of winter. We're hungry. You look down the end of the driveway, you see a bag of chips. You might not get up. You see a large pizza, you're going to get your fat ass up and go get that pizza. That's bar none one of my favorite analogies I've ever heard about anything to do with fishing.
Accurate.
And that's true.
So,
like, we were sorry.
No, go ahead. Go.
I'll say just one more story. Yeah, we were out fishing for smallies in this lake. It was you know, really deep reservoir. I mean, it goes from 400 foot to about 35 in a matter of like 100 yards, if that. And some of it's just straight cliffs. But that's where they were hanging out. They were kind of hanging out down about 35, 40 foot. We were throwing glides, and as soon as they'd hit the water, I mean, you'd see pods of 12 to 15 of them just rise up and come all the way up 30 to 40 foot just to come look at the glide. You know? Like, to me, that shit's crazy. And that's another reason why I continue to throw these big baits. I'm like, what in the hell was it about that made all those fish come up from that far? But just the drawing power they have, you know, like, they just want to inspect it. Especially the smallies. Those guys, they're just kamikaze. They'll just fucking eat anything.
Well,
not gonna lie.
We were fishing a reservoir similar to that, probably, Austin. When was it? Midsummer. So when you assume fish to kind of be out deeper, but this reservoir we're fishing has like standing trees. It's a flooded phosphate dam. So it's got like 60-foot trees in 100 feet of water. And with live scope, like, it looks absolutely insane. And the fish hang out in these trees about halfway down in the trees. And I'm throwing a crawler and everyone else is giving me shit because they're like, we're fishing in 100 feet of water. Sure enough, next cast, I bomb it out over top of these trees. It's 100 feet, 60-foot trees. I get smoked by like a 4-pound smallmouth. Just blows it out of the water. Everyone in the boat is like, no way. Got it up to the boat and pulled the hook out. But I was like, damn, it was crazy. You can see the fish. When you throw a glide over the top of these trees, they come shooting up. So, like, crawlers on top in 100 feet of water. And this smallmouth just shot up. They just have to look at it. It's insane.
Yeah, their curiosity gets the best of them.
It does.
Oh, dude, huge. And it's insane how far they will travel vertical for anything. Like, I've had them do it with like an 8-inch mag draft before. I have them do it with jigs all the time. Top water, if I'm Damiki rigging, like late in the year, I do it a lot for the high school kids that I coach. For 4 years, my first stint, and then last year, not so much. That bite was a little off because the small population was down. But, you know, you'd be out there, Lake Winnipesaukee. Huge, deep, clean, clear lake. And I found this one area that year after year after year, there was tons of bait balls of smelt down in like 65, 70 feet. And the smallies were cruising at like 55. And I'd drop a little teeny tiny Damiki rig down over their head. That thing wouldn't be 5 feet below the boat. And this is just 2D sonar before I had live. That bait barely gets 5 feet down, and all of a sudden I see that faint little boomerang turn into a straight vertical line. And that thing only get down 10 feet. He'd come from 50 to 10 and just hammer it. It's wild how aggressive smallmouth will and how aggressive they are and how far up they will travel to go chase something down that they want.
Oh, yeah.
Christian,
that's why I love them so damn much, man.
I love smallmouth. I say they're assholes, though.
Yeah, they are.
You're wrong there. Doesn't matter what you're throwing there, assholes.
You baller throw the crawler.
Christian
Yeah,
ain't
right.
like, I was a big weight guy until I started touching crawlers. I'm always torn, man. I look at him, I'm like, it's like that angel and devil, you know. You're like, oh shit, what do I throw now?
Yeah.
Well, but like, what makes you guys throw one bait over another, right? Like, I've got my personal favorites and like what I think is going to work and what I feel confident throwing and what I feel comfortable throwing, you know, with big baits. But like, what makes you pick up one thing and then put it down and switch to something else? Like, what dictates that switch from a crawler or a wake bait, or, you know, like to Jose's point, like the rat, right, that he's crawling on the surface there or waking on the surface, to throw like a slow sinking, like multi-jointed swimmer or a soft bait and bounce it off the bottom like a big oversized jig, or, you know, put on a beast, like a screw lock beast hook and kind of throw it up shallow in the grass and rip it through. Like, what prompts the change? What makes you go, I need to stop throwing a wake or a crawler or whatever and go to this, and vice versa? And like, when do you guys make that determination? How do you make it?
I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I think for me, I always start with confidence. Anytime I'm hitting, especially if it's like new bodies of water or something like that. We have hundreds and hundreds of ponds and lakes and stuff out here too. So depending on the body of water that I go to, I mean, it's just start with confidence, and then you know, usually I start on top water. Crawlers, wakes, I throw like candy gill a lot, and then usually when I start switching away, they'll let you know when they want to eat top water, right? Like, either they're going to hit that damn thing or they're just not. You know, and if they start swirling on it or something like that, then I'll switch to a crank down. You know, if they're kind of just short striking or something like that, switching to a crank down or a glide, and then just getting super erratic with it, just trying to cause a reaction more than anything. And then, I mean, really after that, it's just kind of just reading what the fish want. If I'm going subsurface and they're still not coming up for it, well, then it's like, you know, I'll go to the bottom. Like, I'll bust out some soft baits. You know, I'll go dredge a huddle spin if I have to, or whatever line through I happen to have in the boat at the time. But for me, it always, I mean, the fish will tell you what they kind of want. If they're coming up and eating surface baits, we'll throw that. But for me, start with confidence.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on the confidence side of things. I think also it plays into a lot of like knowing your lakes. Like, I night fish a lot, which is, I would highly recommend for everybody, because it kind of resets you to like really lean on your intuition and really like learn how to understand a lake, a body of water, and understand the fish on a body of water when you can't even see, you know. And you're not using screens, because if you're looking at a screen, like, your eyes are, you can't adjust to like the darkness around you. So you're just sitting there. We're fishing at night, and I mean, like Austin said, you can figure out really quickly if they're going to eat a crawler. You know, I think an aggressive topwater bite, like a crawler, you can't go wrong. I caught the two biggest fish of my year last year both on the crawler. But you can get out there and like within the hour, and I know the spots on these lakes that are like the fish are up shallow and they're eating. If they don't touch a crawler in the first 20 minutes, like, I'll set it down and go for the wake, which is like super subtle and almost silent. But a lot of times, and it's really beneficial to fish with people when you're fishing swim baits, so that you can throw opposing things. I think that's a big. I also love when people fish conventional with me, because I learn a ton and they learn a ton. Like, I watch a buddy throw a craw or a frog or a buzzbait or something, and then base his results and his reactions with fish, and then throw something in my swim bait arsenal to complement that, or, you know, oppose it. It's really beneficial to fish with people. So yeah, me and my buddy Doug and Billy usually go out a lot at night, and he'll start with a softie. I'll start throwing a glide. He's getting smoked on the softie, or I'm getting smoked on the glide. He'll switch over and we'll change that way. But it's really, like Austin said, just listen to the fish. I mean, if I throw a wake out there and it gets demolished, I'm like, that was aggressive. That was an aggressive eat for no reason, because it's a subtle, quiet wake. Pick up the crawler, and 9 times out of 10, it's a crawler bite, you know. But to oppose that too, like if I'm throwing the crawler for half an hour and they're not touching it, you're like, man, the bite's dead tonight. And you pick up just a really quiet wake. I mean, I don't ever, Austin, I never go to the point of dragging a hut around. I'm like, if they're not eating top water, we're done for the night. I'm done. Like I want them on top.
Yeah, if I'm out if I'm night fishing, yeah, it's wakes or trawler, and that's it. I'm out. If they're not biting.
I'm talking about daytime. I'm not dragging a hut. Yeah, no, I love top water. Top waters and glides. That's pretty much all. I mean, I got to learn the softy now that we're making one, so it'll be a learning curve for me this year. But
I tell you what, but before Jose gets his chance to fill in on all this too, softies for me at night, my favorite way to fish them is like a jig. I keep them on the bottom and I just crawl them over rocks, and that's been like most successful manner for me to fish them. And my God, it's fun because it's just like a giant jig, and when they hit it, my God, do they hit it?
That's one thing I need to try. I've never thrown soft baits for night.
Oof, it can be good. You know, it's just I don't know. Different times of the year, you know, pay attention when you have your crawfish spawns, and like everything moves in and feeds on those damn things. Yep. So throwing a little swim bait just looks like a little bait fish down there feasting on those craws. And like, I don't know, for me, that's when I've had my most consistent success with it. It's fun.
It also helps bumping it off of stuff too, right? Because like a lot of the soft swim baits don't have a lot of like crazy actions or you know, as much noise and you know, as some of the hard baits do, right? You don't hear the joints, you know, clacking together. You don't hear you know, the hooks hitting up against it. It doesn't have like a wide glide to it. It's not, you know, crawling and making, you know, causing a commotion on the surface there. So like bumping it off of stuff and getting something to kind of trigger those bites and get them to kind of draw in, you know, really, really works. So, you know, definitely working on the bottom for sure. Contrasting colors.
On this, I was going to touch on what you said, Sean, how, you know, a bait will sit up and down like this with its tail up. With us working on the soft bait for the last year, I have adjusted the buoyancy of the softy to, you know, right away it was like standing straight up. So it's really buoyant. And if you don't have it buoyant enough, it'll sit on the bottom like this. Yep. We've got it to a point where the tail is so thick and big and the buoyancy that when you kill it, it sits on the bottom like this, just like nosing down, and that little tail will just kind of wiggle. So you bump it and it just is like this really light buoyancy. So you can crawl it and it just shakes the tail. But yeah, it stays up and down. So, I mean, people are going to bedfish with it for sure, but it just like looks like a gill just sniffing around on the bottom, eating stuff. It's cool. I'm excited.
Well, we will send you our addresses after this, and you can send some out. We'll test it. We'll test it ourselves to see if you're lying or telling the truth. And then we'll inform the general public whether or not you were truthful.
Fair enough.
Just to build off of a couple different things. First off, yeah, like Sean said, Kyle, prove it. So we'll wait for him right here.
You can send Jose's to me. I'll make sure that he gets it.
Oh, the soft bait thing, man, that's a good technique too. Like I like a burrito. Hands down, dude. I work a burrito like a spinner bait. Day and night, I've absolutely hammered them on it. Just it's fast, chuck and wind. And I take the fast sink 6-inch burrito, that thump you get out of it, I just crush them on it. But you know, top bar is always gonna be my favorite way to do it. You know, back to that whole like thought process about which one to pick up. It comes down to that confidence piece, and the fish definitely tell us what they want. I get asked a lot of times, why do you have 12 rods on your kayak? One, I'm an addict, so kiss my ass. But two, exactly. I guess two is because I can, but more often than not, you're gonna see I have 2 wakes on. I have a 2-piece and a 3-piece. I have 2 crawlers on, a 1-piece and a 2-piece. You know, and I do that throughout everything because the fish very quickly, as Kyle alluded to, I'm a big time night fisherman too. Ain't nothing better than going out black ops, completely blacked out, no headlamp. You're just out there with what God gave you. And it doesn't get any better than having that rod ripped out of your hands when you get this weird slurp and all of a sudden it's loaded up. Or you hear that train wreck explosion out there. Either way, you have no idea what the hell just happened. You're just along for the ride. It could be a muskie, it could be a pike, it could be an alien. Who the hell knows? But it's fun as hell every time. And I've hit myself in the chest multiple times with rock bass at night. I'll swing as hard, like, oh, I got one. Bam, right there. But
Jose, what's your PB rock bass?
So a pound and a half. And I actually have a trophy for it. I won the New York State Summer Classic. Bruh, my biggest trophy I've ever gotten, about yay big, from a damn rock bass I caught on a crawler.
Impressive.
That's awesome. Jose's proudest moment. I love it.
Yeah, I'm in it for the fake checks and trophies, man. But I'm not.
Oh my God, that reminds me. The closest I ever got to a state record was a rock bass 5 years ago. It was 1 ounce shy of the state record. Everybody's like, you should submit it. I don't want that record. I'm good.
Dude, like honestly, over here, and Jose knows too, and I won't name any names here, but there's some dudes that have rock bass tournaments here, and they take it so seriously. Like I'll be out fun fishing or whatever, and they're just grinding on rock bass. Like they're having so much fun. I don't know if I could do it, but it's.
Have you guys eaten one? Are they good?
I heard they are. I've never had one, but I heard they're really good.
They're very good. It's just a white flaky fish. I've been told it's very similar to yellow perch.
Oh, okay.
Deal. I want to try some.
Eat them up.
Jose will take your.
There's a million of them out there.
Dude, it's so dumb. Like I've catch bullheads on topwater too. I don't know if you do
that. What? The rock bass will hit anything. They're like perch, right? They're just so curious that they will just eat anything. It doesn't matter if it's 20 times the size of them. Like this little rock bass will eat this giant bait because he's like, I'm a rock bass and I just do what I want.
Yeah, there you go. DJ is like a legit chef, not just like a legit chef, but a fucking phenomenal chef. He says that rock bass are really tasty. So
okay, the expert.
Yep,
perfect.
So I did a seminar. I was at the Niagara Fishing Show. We were there for Docs was there, and I do a seminar every year. And I have this slideshow and all this shit put together. And I don't think I have 1 5-pounder on my slideshow. I show nothing but 8 to 12-inch bass, rock bass, bullhead. My PB catfish came on the Buka softtail wake. 8-pound catfish hit on topwater. Yeah, dude. And then my PB bluegills on topwater. That came on the softtail as well. I've caught threadfin shad on the softtail. Like the mouth is around the treble. It killed itself trying to eat it. It's wild.
That's
18-inch bullhead, like it's my job. I wish I ate him.
All right. Before I don't even know where the hell the rest of this conversation is going to go. We have a metric ton of questions that we've been just kind of holding in the background. And if I don't force it to get into some of these at some point, then we're never going to get to them. So I'm going to take a minute and try to go through some of these. Our buddy David Roy goes by Any Bass Act on here. Kyle, can you share anything about the G-Crack collab?
Yeah. Okay, so we did a collaboration with G-Crack. We sent them some baits in Japan. It's just a small batch. They painted them, which turned out super sick. We should have a photo of them, but they're dropping the collaboration baits at Keepcast, which is like iCast for Japan. So it's like the big show over there. So they're going to release those there. I know I had a lot of people that were like, how can we get them in the States? And
no, hold on.
Hey, Sean, what was that?
that was apparently just the
built that FYP brick by brick button.
Yeah, so
it's like it knows me. It's like you're a dude, you like fishing, so you like half naked girls too. I'm not looking at that, honey. I swear.
Dating, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Jesus. Can we rewind this?
Too late there permanently.
Yeah, so anyway, okay, I'm good. The G-Crab collab color. It will probably sell out at Keepcast, but we're already talking about doing a stateside release.
Nice.
Stay tuned for that. As soon as we have details, we'll post about those.
You got to be quick though. The throwback goes so quick.
I know. We're trying. We're hiring like crazy, dude. We're trying to put out more and more and more. I promise. People get mad, and I'm like, listen, we're doing all we can. I promise you, we are making as many baits as possible. So
good. That's what I like to hear. All right. Alfred Morgan wants to know preferred rod choice for throwing big baits. And I'm going to say, Austin, why don't you take this one first? Because it was Jose that talked, and then it was Kyle. Austin, your turn. I'll try and keep a nice little cycle.
Yeah, the rotation going.
Yeah.
So brand, preferably F5 for me. I just love that brand. And then of course the type, it all depends on which rod or what bait you're really going for. Like big soft baits, of course, you're going to want, throwing big beast hooks and jig hook styles, you're going to want something a little bit more stout. For my glides, pretty much my glides, my gills, crank downs, and even my crawler, I throw on a like a 7. Oh, what the hell size is it? I can't remember the size of it, but it's the Ghost Code, 2 to 6 ounce or 2 to 5 ounce or whatever that one is. Just like a moderate, fast tip rod. And then that's really just about it. I mean, that kind of can cover most of your bases there.
Nice. What about you, Jose?
I'm a bit of a brand whore, man. So F5, the travel rods were number 1 and 2 in my arsenal forever. And I love them rods still, but they hardly ever come out. They're sitting for safekeeping, I guess. Akuma Guide Select Extra Heavy Swimbait stick for my burritos. That's probably the best stick I've ever used for those burrito baits. But it's very specific for me. It's a jig hook bait. And if I'm not throwing jig hooks that day, I don't even bring it out. I got my hands on a Cotterworks rod at the gathering. Oh my God, that thing is beautiful. I only got to play with it from October to December before we froze up, but I think I'm in love with him, so don't tell anybody. The other, I like the lowdown. I won a couple of lowdown custom rods as well. I like them a lot. They don't fit in the rotation. All that's a long-winded way of saying I got to Douglas rods. I absolutely love the Douglas LRS 711.5. They have the X Matrix line now, which is super sensitive, super lightweight. I'm getting old. I'm in my 40s, man. My shoulder, I want to be able to pass these things all day. Those Douglas rods have been the lightest I've found to be able to do that. And for how I fish, that 711.5, I mean, I have 4 of them on my kayak. That's probably my all-around go-to rod I use. Probably one of my favorite rods I run. But like I said, I'm a bit of a brand whore because I also like the Phoenix M1. So flavor of the week, what I'm doing that day. But more often than not, you'll see me with a Douglas rod in my hand.
Nice. And then Kyle.
I pretty much just fish Leviathans right now. I'm working on getting a cotter rod for my softy stick this year. But I love the finesse, the Omega finesse. We did a collab with Leviathan. So that's kind of my primary go-to because I fish the Metroglide a lot. That's like a 1/2 ounce to 2 ounce rod. Super fun smalley rod. Like makes a 2-pound smallmouth just feel like a tank every time. So can't deny I like that rod a lot. Other than that, I just go up the scale from there. Omega, the medium heavy for anything 2 to 4 ounce. So like wakes, crawlers is great for that. And then up to the heavy, which I think is 2 to 6, which I throw the Retroglide on. And then I will be picking up an extra heavy this year to throw our big glide on. But yeah, pretty simple, nice parabolic rod, all 8-footers. Love a big 18-inch handle to tuck in your armpit. That's like my go-to. I can't have a rod. I don't know how. I pick up old bass rods now that have a 10 or 12-inch handle. I'm like, how did I set the hook ever? It not having a rod in my armpit. I don't know how I set the hook. So I'm just addicted to big stock handles now.
Yep. Nope. I hear you. And it's funny because I had one of the first Douglas 805 F. Yeah.
Yeah, just a regular F before they made the detachable handle, the D.
Yeah, and I love it. It's a great rod, but the butt handle length on it is just a little too short. So I don't throw everything on there that I could get away with being a 3 to 7 ounce rod. I tell you what, for A-rigs though, it's like my favorite rod. It's great. So it's kind of been dedicated to that and a couple of crank downs I really like throwing on it. But I already placed an order for an 805 FD for that just because of that. I want the longer handle. I'm getting tired of this little stubby handle.
Yeah, the 805 FD is like another 2 to 3 inches on the handle there, so it's just slightly longer. There are different rods though too. Like I was gonna say, to Kyle's point, like I'm with some of those lighter glides, those Metros, right? Like the Douglas, for those out there that are Douglas users or wanted to be Douglas users, the DXC 765F, it's rated. It's rated so that the 2 ounce, sub 2 ounce baits just fit perfectly in that. And it's a great A-rig rod, but also doubles as a wonderful, small little glide bait rod. And so that started before I kind of stumbled upon the throwback baits, I was throwing a Clutch Eco on that thing. And like, I've got multiple, and when I say multiple 765s, I mean multiple, and like literally a Clutch Eco lives on one. Kyle, you're going to have a place on one, right? So there'll be a Metro on one. I've amassed a small little stockpile of those guys. I have my own little like throwback army. But that's going to live on one, right? And it just makes like a really, really nice rod. So for some of those smaller glides, don't sleep on that 765.
I'm going to make you all throw up. That 765 is my favorite rod for jigs.
You know what? So I started throwing a Texas rig and stuff on it too, because I felt like a lot of them were a little too spongy, but I also throw a jig on the 766 extra fast. But this isn't about jigs today. This is about swim baits. So I won't go down that rabbit hole. It's also a great swim bait rod, Jose. Is that what you said?
It's too short.
The 766 is a great jig style hook swim bait rod for big softies.
For something, 711s or 8-footers.
I agree with you on that. Like I have a 766. I've thrown my Citizen 6 on it. I've thrown my CHR, like some of my soft body swim bait stuff. A couple of smaller crankdowns. Like I throw my Pats on it, and I really like that. But it's still like, even though the rod can like more than handle it, it just doesn't feel the same as when I pick up a 711 or longer rod. It's like, okay, big bait, big rod. Here we go. Lob it. I'm going to go a little bit out of order as far as the questions go, because a friend Kara here made a great point, Bad Bass. This would segue nicely into reels to use. So does make sense to talk about that next. I will double up on this with reels and line for different techniques and gear ratio. So like, not just dive into it. And back to you, Austin, I think, to start.
Perfect.
And
yeah, I'll start. It don't matter.
Brand of reel, size of reel, what you prefer on handles, because like I know that's another big thing. Just whatever you want to talk about with it, and go at it. I'm gonna get water while you do your thing, because I'm just here to facilitate the knowledge for you guys.
There's a pizza at the end of the driveway.
Hydration's key.
I had that
Pizza.
For reels, man, I'm a simplistic guy. Corrado 200s, I'm pretty much everything. I do have a couple Daiwas, but for the most part, it's just the Corrado 200s. Super simplistic with my line too, but I am specific. It's the co-poly, the triple X. It's either 15 or 20 pound. You know, like I'll throw the candy gills. They're pretty small, so I can get away with throwing those on 15 pound. But 9 times out of 10, it's just straight co-poly, that Iser line triple X at 20 pound and 200 size reel. And then for handles, I feel kind of bad for forgetting the name. CCRH, I think is what it is. He sent me like 6 handles, and I threw them on the Corrados, and I've been in love with them ever since. They fit great. They're lightweight. He has a couple of like carbon pressed ones and aluminum ones, but I like his big EVA foam knobs. I like to just force those things in, man. I don't give them anything. Everything I got is what I give them. So, but that's my go-to. I keep it simple, just 20 pound and 200s.
Kyle.
Anyone?
Bueller.
I don't know which side. You're on this side to me.
I know you gotta.
Y'all don't know who's where.
All right, I'll go.
It's like it's opposite on the camera. You know, you're looking at it and you think it's like it's really this way.
Are you this way?
Away from Jose.
I'm that way.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's that way for me. Weird. I'm kind of a reel snob, I guess. I love round reels. So the first round reel I got was a Ryoga, and I loved it. And I had to get a Conquest and try it out. And like once I got a Conquest, I was like, I'm just gonna sell every reel and conventional setup I ever got. And I have two 200 Conquests and then one 300 for bigger baits in the Ryoga. So it's 4 round reels, and that's it. I just love round reels. I love how they feel. I love the 200 Conquest. It's like, I feel like it's going to last forever. I mean, they're stupid expensive, but I traded a couple baits to get some varials for them. So some upgraded handles, and I love the varials and the flat knobs. So everything's just like, I don't have different reels for different rods. I just have Conquest, and the Ryoga fits in there because that's the first one I got, and I have love for that thing. But round reels. And for line, I'm pretty simple when it comes to line for the Metro Glide. For both 200 size reels, I have 14-pound FC Sniper. I like lighter line. I don't think you need. I think a lot of people can like overwork baits or just overdo line. Like I love 14-pound FC Sniper for smallmouth on my setups. And then if I'm throwing
14-pound line.
Yep.
Ugh.
That's like I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's like because you're the one building them. But for me, I don't know that I find myself comfortable enough to throw any like expensive swim bait on anything less than like 20 pound. And maybe it's more for my head and like my like peace of mind. And like, I don't want to climb up a tree like Andrew did a couple years ago to retrieve a bait. I don't want to see it like cast it off into the distance, never to be found again. Like it hurts my soul when I like lose something, and to throw it on like 14-pound line. I don't know that I'd be able to like, if I had something tied up on 14-pound line, I wouldn't sleep it the night before going out fishing. I'd just be so nervous.
Best no, it's just like I don't know what it is. I feel like it's just a little bit more sensitivity when you're throwing that glide. It's just I don't know what it is. I've just gotten into the 14-pound and I love it, and it's been great. And I do get what you're saying. I have the luxury of just building another Metro Glide or grabbing one from my arsenal. Like I have that for sure. But last year I don't think I lost more than a single bait, and that was probably just my own stupidness of not retying. Like I'm smart about it. I'll check my line, but I think the sensitivity you get from 14-pound Sniper and a nice like finesse or medium heavy is great. Okay, I do upgrade to 20. I think it's 20 for like my size, my 300 size, where I throw the retro on, which is like a 6-ounce bait. So,
how much is your Metro weigh?
The Metro is 2 ounces.
Oh,
yep. So yeah, round reels and all FC Sniper 14.
Hey, I'll be right back.
Okay.
And the world's largest balls too, apparently. 14-pound line for swim baits, man. Jesus.
Try. You have a Metro Glide. Try 14-pound Sniper.
I've got a couple. Is this an unofficial limited lifetime warranty here on the Metro Glide here?
I'll give you one of them with that.
You know what?
I'll call you up, Kyle. It happened.
Yeah, I will make a gentleman's deal right now. If you get some 14-pound Sniper, throw it on throw it on that Douglas rod you think, and if it breaks off, I'll replace it. You gotta try it.
I'll have to give it a shot.
You gotta give it a shot.
There's some of my swim baits that I genuinely would be okay with, like the Defiant 14-pound heavy cover. I would give that a shot on it.
Yeah, as long as you're casting it right. Like you're not like, I don't know. Like I love throwing it on braided line to a shock leader too. So like I just, for me, and that way, like, but I can put the 35-pound shock leader on it, and it like, I'm not losing a whole lot of sensitivity, and I can throw 70-pound braid on it and not worrying about having to break it off. And I can just chuck that thing. I'm not having to lob cast it. I can just like snap it and just bomb it and not have to worry about it breaking off. And so like a lot of times I love the sensitivity of braid. You know, it's similar diameter, right? Especially the Defiant stuff. It's super, super thin. You get the sensitivity. It's not sinking as much as the fluorocarbon. So it's a little bit easier to kind of work some of that braided line over some cover and stuff. Kind of helps keep the bait up in the water column. I just like braid.
Yeah, I should note I fish a lot differently than a lot of people. I was like probably half of my fishing is off the paddleboard on little rivers. So like I'm pitching, 20, 30-foot casts, like just little whip casts. So like I am utilizing this light setup with light line. I mean, there's just no room for having anything that's overpowering out there. So it's just small little pitches. Like I could show you videos where you're just whipping it into a tree. It's just about like, I think I have a little more accuracy with that lighter line, and I'm not making bomb casts. I'm not overexerting the reel or anything, or like really ever getting into the realm of like, oh, that was a risky cast lengthwise, or anything like that. So it's pretty minimal. It's a tactical.
Yeah, your close quarter combat kind of thing. Getting close.
Yep.
I feel like that's kind of like, to your point on the paddleboard and like for Jose and the kayak, right? Like it's a little bit of a different game than it is kind of on a big boat with a noisy trolling motor and electronics that are making noise that the fish hear or feel, like, like banging of latches and you're slamming rod lockers and stuff like that to kind of alert to your presence. Like it's a little bit more of a stealthy presence, so you can kind of get a little bit closer and kind of just like pitch to them too. So
don't get me wrong though, I get on the boat with a 14-pound, I'll bomb it, no fear.
So, Jose, did you get a chance to answer this question while I was getting water, or have you not gone yet?
Not gone yet.
All right, fire away.
So I drop shot with 14 pounds, just for saying, that's kind of where I'm at. No, I'm a 20-pound big game guy, or a 65-pound, Portland line. There's no in between. I don't use leaders. So if I'm throwing something with a jig hook, sometimes I'll throw a crawler on that 65-pound. But more often than I'm throwing 20-pound big game, just because I know that I can mid-cast change my mind. That thing's gonna boomerang and hit me in the face versus breaking off. And I can put my kayak in a pinch with it. So I mean, I'm afraid of fluorocarbon. I'll be honest. I got no problem putting fluorocarbon on my conventional setups, and I don't mind losing. As stupid as it sounds, I don't mind losing a Vision 110 at $26, but I don't want to cast off a $100 bait. So I'm going to work on it this year to try to get some more confidence in that fluorocarbon game. I watched a lot of Butch Brown and Jeff Hamilton videos on the 250 because my goal is to get bid on that 250 this year. So I like Kyle there. I have a Calcutta. That Conquest, that thing is legit. That thing's a badass little round reel. I like it a lot, but I'm not a ball.
The best reel ever made.
I only got one.
They're so sick.
But my favorite reel, hands down, is an Akuma Citrix. That thing is a ratio of like 6:4 to 1. It's got brass gearings. I can cast that thing a mile. The drag is insanely good. I always tell people, man, I'm not in it for the fight. I'm in it for the cuddle. So that tighten all the way down. I'm wrenching that fish in, and we're hugging it out and talking sweet nothings, and then I let it go. That's kind of where I'm at.
That's beautiful.
After, of course, taking a picture and measuring her.
Oh, yeah, you got to show her all your friends.
I've tried. So, no fluorocarbon.
No.
I use the 18.4 heavy cover from Defiant Fishing for some of my smaller swim baits. And then for my bigger stuff, like my depths, I'll throw their 23.6 pound soft casting fluoro, which is not as stretchy as mono, but it's definitely stretchier than like your standard fluoro. It's kind of like their heavy cover is more like Seagar's Abrasics or the FC Sniper. And then their soft casting is more like Invisics from Seagar. It's just a little bit stretchier. Dude, I mean, I can't say enough good things about that 23.6, and I like just straight fluorocarbon. I tried braid at first, and I could not do it. I hated it. For me, it's far less forgiving. I tend to run my reels way looser than is sane, but it's just my preference. I feel much more comfortable and at home doing it that way, so I go straight fluoro on most everything that I throw, and especially big swim baits. And the first time I tried that Defiant line, I was fishing down in Connecticut for the winter holdover stripers. And I had always been, I think I was throwing 20-pound red label forever. And I was like, well, let me try the 23.6. And like, I can throw that in my big glides. Now I picked up a couple more at that point. And I went out throwing a 5-hooked, like big umbrella rig for these fish. Friggin' this was, when the hell was this? Beginning of January. And I caught 70-something stripers on that line. And I never had to retie it once. Never broke off once. And that's slinging a big ass A-rig. So I was like, okay, well, if it can do that with stripers, then I can throw literally anything on this all day long. I'm never gonna have to worry about it. I've never once broken off on that line. It's I mean, you got Kyle throwing the 14-pound and he does just fine. I'm almost twice that. It's phenomenal. And I like that it's got a little bit more stretch and give to it, because I inevitably will fuck up on one of my casts more often than not. And if I thumb it a little too hard or something, or a little backlash, and then it kind of catches my thumb, it's just got a little bit more give, so I don't snap that bait off when it eventually catches on the end of that slack, before it slaps the water. I don't know. Food for thought.
Hey, real quick, so I'm stubborn. I'm sure you guys aren't at all. But I'm a creature of habit. I'm stubborn. I'm gonna stick with what always kind of works.
Mhm.
But one of my goals this year is to get confidence in that fluorocarbon. So I'm actually gonna throw that Sunline FC Sniper, and I'm gonna throw that 20-pound fluorocarbon for my depth 250. You know, I initially thought, well, I'm gonna do fluoro. I'm gonna throw top wires. That way they float, and I can go get it when I break off. But I'm gonna force myself to throw that 250 because I want, like I said, I want to sink that thing down. I want to get down to the videos and everything I've been doing the research on, get it down to that depth. How, I guess, how open are you guys to like changing to what you kind of already know? How open are you guys to change? But I'm not very open to it.
I'm very
I'll
open.
change. Yeah, I don't mind. I like. I'll at least try it. I give everything a try at least once.
Same. It's
I was gonna say everything, and then I'm gonna switch my answer to almost everything. Like a creature of habit, but like you got to give it a try, and like if enough people say that it's like worthwhile trying out or something that you gotta check out, then maybe there's a little truth or validity to that, and like you got to at least make that assumption for yourself or make that determination for yourself, right? And it's like a lot of it in fishing in general, but like especially with big swim baits, and like we talk about it all the time, big baits, it's all confidence, right? Like you'll never throw something that you're not confident in well or enough in the right place the right way to do it the right way or to do it justice. And so like you won't give it the time. So like you got to try it, and maybe there's something to it, and maybe you stumble across like, you know, the best thing in the world. Like I heard a quote the other day that like people aren't born loving anything. Someone sold it to them along the way, right? So like someone told them that they had to do whatever it was, and they believed them enough to go give it a try or to buy it or to do whatever, and they ended up enjoying it and continuing to fish that way, or you know rig something some way or whatever. So got to give it a shot.
Yeah, the way I look at it too is being open-minded and willing to embrace different things is a very significant key to learning anything. And for me, like I'm a whore for learning, like anything. I don't know. I'm addicted to trying to always learn new things and figure out different things. And especially with bass fishing, for me, where like as much as I like fishing swim baits, I'm very much more a traditional angler. But I try everything. I like trying a bunch of new things every year too. And for me, I have to keep an open mind for that. And my favorite analogy for bass fishing in general is it's like playing a game of chess against the bass every day, but they get to make the rules and they change the rules every single day too. So if you don't have that open-minded, mindset to it, then eventually that's where you kind of start to fall behind the long run. I don't think that specifically applies to just like diehard swim bait fishing, because like that is a slightly different thing than like always sticking with traditional kind of finesse stuff that I would typically do. But and then at the end of the day, it's like, do you really need to be open-minded about everything or even often? No, really. Balancing it against what's the benefit, like, okay, like I've always thrown 100-pound braid and it works, and I don't need to second guess it. But if somebody comes to me and they're like, Sean, if you thought about throwing 25-pound fluoro for this, and this reason, like, then this is the why behind why I think that in your case it might be beneficial. Like, that's the perspective and the mentality and the attitude I try to have when I try to think about, getting outside of my little comfort zones that I have. Can somebody rationally explain a well thought out, reasoning behind why I should consider doing something different from what I know and I'm comfortable with? That's really what drives my decision making.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you on it too. Yeah.
You got to try it. Got to give it a shot. That's how you know if you like it or not.
Yeah. All right. Jesus, it's 9:30. Let's do not necessarily lightning, but let's try and go through a couple of these a little more faster, because I'll have 18 more that are pinned for comments here. My buddy Chad. My question is, what is that money size bait that you all sell the most geographically? So I'm going to take that to mean what's your most, I guess, what's your highest selling bait that you make? What size is that?
I'll say the Metro Glide, the 7-inch glide that we make, is by far the best selling worldwide. Like every fish in every size and every species in every waterway, that's been like the absolute perfect size for us. So
nice.
Yeah, ours has been the candy gill. It's a 5-inch gill. It's weight with a little bit of crank action to it too. It's just caught so damn many. Maybe not all over the world like Kyle's, but a couple countries.
Nice. Sean Place, Kyle coming up with pink lemonade color pattern. What brought you to try out that color scheme? And did you try to reverse scheme of yellow and pink?
So someone actually blasted me the other day. They were like, sent us a message. They're like, "Hey, you fucking idiot! It's called electric chicken." I was like,
It's called electric chicken. Is that what they said?
yeah. So it's a fly fishing color. It's where it's pink on the top and yellow on the bottom. And I was like, "Hey, bro, why don't you read a book before you come at me? It's reverse." He's like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry." I'm like,
Can you do you should just do like a small little drop of electric chicken.
electric chickens for him. Actually, okay, so it's Marshall's signature color. He came up with it like 3 years ago when we did a collab with Lateral Vision, and he was like, "What do you think about like a pink lemonade color bait?" So I painted up 3 different types and sent him the 3 pictures. He like, "That one's sick." And then we did like a 25 bait drop with Lateral Vision, and it went really well. And then we kind of picked it up like this year and just ran with it a little bit, and it blew up. We just, I don't know. I don't get it. It works. Like for some reason, smallies especially, like the proof is in the pudding. This color, it's just stupid and loud and obnoxious, but the fish just love it. They just love it. So yeah, it's
There's
just
something about smallies and just obnoxious colors that work really, really well.
Yep, there it is.
For those that haven't seen it,
old pink
or
lemonade.
wondering what color we're talking about, that's it right there.
We dropped those that 1 month. That's all I saw was pink and yellow for like weeks. Painted too many of those. I would like blow my nose.
Real quick, Kyle. Some would argue you could have painted more, but you know, whatever.
Yeah. A lot of people were mad I didn't paint enough, so back to work.
Kara had another good one. Time management. How simple is it for you all to make time for fishing? I'm going to assume that's really just specifically for you, Kyle and Austin, on, between bait making and being able to fish. Austin,
take it away.
Yeah. I try to make as much time as I can for it. I always put the baits first. So if I got stuff to do, I got stuff to do. So it does suck sometimes when the bites are good and I'm inside building baits. But I try to get out at least a couple times a month nowadays. I used to get out like damn near every single day, but baits don't build themselves, unfortunately.
I mean, same thing for me, Austin, but thankfully we've, hired a bunch of people now. And so it has allowed me to get back into the fishing side of things a little more. So we make it a point to, get out on the water at least once a week with a couple guys from the shop. And then we have a Texas trip every spring that we go down with us throwback guys and do a big Possum Kingdom trip for a week. And then we usually do another trip in the summer for muskie fishing or bass fishing up north. So we make it a point to get out as much as we can. And then, yeah, I would say it's about once or twice a week for myself. And then, I love fishing at night. We probably fish 2 or 3 nights a week at night just because all of us have kids. So it's like wife goes to sleep, kids are asleep. It's 10 o'clock. We go out until 1 and show up to work the next day whenever we get up. It's nice having a group of guys that all fish because of the timing. I mean, we're relaxed. People show up around 9, they leave around 3 or 4. Like it's just kind of come and go as you please, as long as you get your shit done. So it's a pretty cool culture that we've got that allows people to fish. And we always encourage, our staff to be like, "Hey, you need a day off, go fish. Like you don't got to be here. We go fish. This is why we do this,
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Jose, too? Because like you're in a different aspect, right? Like you work a mile or two from the body of water, but but you work in a fishing shop that does a lot of tackle.
Yeah.
And you got little ones at home too. So what's that like for you?
Yeah, we bust 60 to 70 hours a week. That minner life is glamorous in the tackle shop, and yeah, it sucks. So I'm like Kyle there, man. I put the kids down for bed, I go out there and I grind for a few hours. I center myself. I get back. Dude, Kyle, I can hang out with you any day of the week, man. I'm down to come over there.
Dude, come out. Come out for the tournament and we'll fish at night a bunch.
Yeah.
Austin's coming out.
Yeah,
Dude, I want to go out for that tournament. I saw that one and I was like, how long of a drive is Jose? We're gonna have to see how long it is to drive out there.
Hey,
maybe we'll drag.
If I gotta fly across the entire United States, you guys can drive.
Right.
We'll drag the old Blazer out there. You know.
Austin, are we putting you to work out here or what?
Yeah, I'll bring some stencils, dude.
I'm for real. I know Doug
No,
was
I'm
talking
serious.
about it. I gotta hit you back on that, but I'm like, dude, I'll put you to work for sure.
I'm all in, dude.
I think you pissed more people off than you did good for the smallies.
He's got a very important art project that he's working on for me. So
yeah.
No, shameless plug though. Like, if you guys are thinking about coming out to the tournament, it is a blast. Like, just chucking swim baits for one day, and then we do the party the night before. Last time we had like 60 people in our shop. Like, it's super fun. It's just the most relaxed, chill time. And last year we had like, it's $250 for the team, so 125 a partner. It's 100% payout, but like, we have so many donations this year that like, if you just show up and fish, you don't have to catch a fish, you will get like your value in baits plus more. Every single person. Like, we have so many giveaways and raffles and a lot of cool prizes. It's really fun. It's really fun.
Awesome. Do you have a pet fish in the shop?
The shop thing's kind of dirty right now. I want one. You gotta get like I don't know why the tank gets so dirty so fast, but eventually we're gonna get a pet fish.
What do you use for cleaning the tank? Like, do you have like a filtration system that's running like 24/7?
Yeah, we have a pond filter that's supposed to run, but it's like the tank's really long. It's like this way, right? And the pond filter has like 2 tubes at here, so it doesn't like really circulate. I think we need to have a longer tube to get it to go around a little bit.
Just get a circulation pump from like the aquarium world.
Yeah, we gotta. I don't know, man. We gotta. When you come out here, Austin, if you know about that shit, I'm just like, dude, it gets dirty. I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking clean this.
I ran fish tanks for like 10 years, or give or take 8. But I had a full reef tank and full. Oh man.
If you can get me set up, if you can get this tank set up to where I don't have to put chlorine in it, it's just pumping clean water, and I can put some bass in it, I'll give you any bait you want.
Yeah.
I'll pay for it. For real.
and some 14-pound line to go with it too.
Yeah, I got you some F-Sniper.
Whatever your choice is, yeah.
Set you up to break
Metro,
it
a Metro and a spool of 14-pound.
Perfect, dude.
So
that's all I got need.
With some pre-cut little nicks in it too.
Like, serrate it with a little knife before it.
Yeah.
Like Mark said, Northeast bass fishing, just stuff it with snails and then throw in a bunch of like, I don't know, little like catfish and stuff so they can clean all the crap off the sidewalls.
A bunch of plecos.
But then you can't float in the bait tank and like on your break and like scrub it down with a little brush. I feel like that's
that is best for
the little floaty with the cocktail and scrubbing the side of the tank.
That's what I said. It was like, if we're gonna go to all this trouble of keeping it clean, we might as well get a heater in there so we can use it.
That's it.
Yeah, man.
It's funny you say that, Sean. Buka actually said this, that he had shad and bass in his tank at one point, and he's like, the stuff that I learned from watching these bass chase the shad around influenced a lot of his bait building. And I thought that was so cool.
Yep.
How genius is that?
It is genius.
Yeah.
So
smart as hell.
You gotta get a tank with some bass and whatever your primary forage is out there.
I want to know how those things react. Jose, you're a big catfish guy on the swim baits, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's fucking ridiculous.
You're like, how does this catfish react to this wake bait?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Comes up and toilet bowls it. Cool.
Just one like 6-pound catfish in the tank.
That's what I'm fishing for. Forget them bass. I'm going after that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Colby had a really good one. If you see fish all over the water column, are you throwing a soft bait? Wow. Are you throwing a soft bait because they seem to be easier to hit all the different depths? Wow, hard. I didn't know who wants to take that first.
Wow.
Want me to reread that one for you, Sean, or what?
Yeah. I'm still fighting off something now. And I'm tired.
if you see fish all over the water column, are you throwing a soft bait because they seem to be easier to hit in all of the different depths?
See, there's a word missing there you filled in that I didn't.
Yes.
I just don't throw too many soft baits. If I do, I mean, I do have a couple that I do solely just always have with me. Like the unique gill, like I'll forever have that thing. As long as that guy makes them, I will forever buy those. But for smallmouth, I target them a lot with those when they're suspended, because I can work it in all depths of that column. So like if I wanted to go a little bit faster and kind of keep it up top, and that's where they're at, sweet. And then if not, then yeah, I can just let that thing sink down and just count it down. But no, I mean, I'll go for a glide before I do a soft bait.
What he said, glide all day, just rip it through there.
Mm-hmm. How are you weighting the glides though? Like, because a lot of guys use like the lead wire around the hooks. A lot of people use like the lead strips on the bottom. What's the preferred method to kind of get those glides down a little bit deeper?
The secret, because what is it? Who sells the lead strips that are expensive?
Zappo or whatever.
Yeah, they're expensive. We go on Amazon and we buy these golf lead tape. It's called lead strip. Yep. Put those on the Metro and it turns it into a mod sink just like that. It's like just one strip right on the belly. You can't mess it up. So like it's easy.
Yeah, the racket weights, they're 3 grams.
Yep,
they're perfect. And then you can cut them up into any size.
Yep, and they stick and they stay on. Like it's simple.
Yep, and then if it does fall off or you have one pop off, they're cheap as hell. You just pop another one back on.
Yeah, exactly.
And I prefer those over the stick-ons. I prefer those over lead wrapping wires or hooks. It's just a pain in the ass to have to do those.
Too, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't realize I actually thought I repinned that last comment, but I accidentally grabbed somebody else's. Drew wanted to know, he's been trying the Mag Draft 6-inch swim bait since last season, trying glide baits this season. First pick were the Mike Buka Trick Shad and River to Sea S Waver, trying to learn a glide bait. Is this a good start?
Absolutely.
I would agree with all.
Thumbs up.
S Wavers, for how cheap they are, they do a pretty good job for the action they have on them. I know a lot of people have caught like a lot of fish on it. I personally haven't, but I also know that I really haven't thrown it that much. I bought a couple. I love the way they look. I just never stuck with it. But then as I got more and more intrigued by throwing glides, I'm like, I'm just going to go buy $150 glides instead. Because
that's the addiction, though, more than anything. That S Waver is deadly, man. And I caught so many damn fish on it early on, and it works so good. I haven't thrown it in probably 3 years.
The S Waver, it's also a good one to start learning, like pitching close to docks and trees, downs, whatever, rocks. If you're going to blow up a bait, you might as well blow up an S Waver before you blow up a $150 resin glide.
Yeah, I mean, like the Storm Arashis, right? Some of the Savage gear makes like a
the
like
Shine glider.
Shine glide's legit.
That
like thing's dope.
The Arma joint, from Shimano, like those ones are like decent baits to like, to start out with and aren't going to break the bank if you snap it off or lose it or crack it. I mean, there's a difference between, and that's kind of like, that's the difference between the ABS versus the hand poured resin, like hand tuned resin baits. And that's the reason why like the prices are what they are when it comes to baits is, those ABS ones are a hell of a lot easier, cheaper, mass produced. Still can produce great results, but you're not married to spending a ton of money to throw a bait.
For sure. Like that Buka Trick Shad, that plastic one, I had to get one. I got the resin Trick Shad. I love it. But for being a plastic bait, man, that thing's legit. I like the sink rate on it better than I like the regular Trick Shad sink rate. It's real receptive to your reel turns. I mean, I was impressed with it. The only thing I didn't like is that it rises up a little too fast. But again, maybe that's just the ABS thing versus the resin thing, But dude, they're legit. There's a lot of good options out there. That Drew guy, he's doing it right. It's good to get that gateway drug out of the way.
Yeah. We only got a couple more. Chad had a really good one too. If they start short striking, do you use the same bait but switch colors? So that's interesting because like as much as I love doing this, I don't have anywhere near as much success and just direct experience as you guys do. But thinking about it from a traditional standpoint, like if they start short striking, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Is clearly they like it. They enough to stop it in its tracks, but not just get hooked up. So I guess it depends on the presentation too, the technique specifically. If I can add a stinger hook, I'll do that. But if not, there's nothing I can do but change color or change bait. I'm changing color, and it's going to be a subtle change. So I'm curious, like, is that the same mindset for you guys on the bigger baits? If you're just getting constantly short struck, or
that's when you downsize a 14-pound sniper.
but to your point, Sean, right? Like you're taught like the short strikes, or they're just not kind of interested, but they're interested enough to look at it, but then they swim away. It's like maybe it's a color thing, maybe it's a size thing. But in the swim bait world too, it also could be the cadence, the action of it too. So like by switching that, by getting something, by working a little faster, working a little slower, getting it to like glide out wide and turn around on itself and stare at him and then scurry away real quick and then stop. Like maybe something like that triggers it too. So I won't go too far on that because we have 3 guests here who are far more advanced than I am, but definitely let's add that to the mix too.
Yeah.
I'll switch angles before I switch colors. If they're short strike and say like I'm throwing a glide and they're short strike and glide, I don't think I switch into a different color for glide is going to make a difference. If I change my angle, I think that will. So I'll change angles before I do a color switch, and then normally at that point it's a presentation switch. I'll switch to crank down or something faster moving or slower moving. If I see gills flaring and them dancing around with my glide, that kind of keys me in a little bit too. That like, okay, at least they're interested in the glide. It's not the bait necessarily or the color. It's just maybe it's just the angle that fish is coming from or the bait's coming from. Something like that.
I think for me, man, it's not new with color. Color to me, I don't really get hung up on it. I got some beautiful baits, and they absolutely caught me more than I think the fish is really looking at it. You know, the swim bait thing to me is more about that reactionary bite versus that stop and stare finesse bite. You know, glide baits are the one kind of caveat there because you are working them different. You're really giving them time to really look at it, kind of hone in on it. But, you know, I'm not hung up on color. Like for me, short striking typically comes on the top water bite, and it's that 2 versus 3-piece thing. If I'm throwing a 2-piece, getting short struck, I'll switch over to a 3-piece. Often than not, that one subtle change, and it's subtle to me, but it's a different swim presentation. They tend to key in one way or the other.
I like it.
I'm going to ask one thing about color here when we're on color. Why? I know the answer to this. I know my opinion on the answer to this. Why bone versus like crazy colors?
Who wants to go on it? I'll go. It's bone. I mean, for me, it's just bold. It just stands out. It's different. It doesn't look like any bait fish. I mean, it depends on like some bones out there are kind of shimmery and shiny, and some are kind of a.
Oh, I think we lost him.
Yeah, he froze.
He ran to get the pizza.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, good. Back online.
Yeah.
I don't know where it cut off at. I
You were
heard you
saying
guys say
some bones were shiny, shimmery.
Yeah, you're talking about 14-pound FC sniper.
Yeah, it really just boils down to SD snapper 14 pounds. So it comes down to. No, I just think it's just bold. I think it just stands out, and if I can see it from a mile, I know these fish can, and these fish are too curious and they want to come look at it. And then it moves, and then it does the right action, and that's what draws them to bite.
I'll snowball off that. Like being able to see your bait. This is a swim bait thing for 100%. But being able to watch your bait and know how it's swimming in the water, and you visualize how you're swimming it. You get bit on that. You establish confidence on that cadence, and then you can see it. Like, and how I relate this is fishing a glide at night. I'd never fucking do it in my life because I watch how I swim my glide. So having a bone bait, like I would say my biggest producing baits are raw resin, which essentially is bone. It's just It's easy to see. It's easy for the fish to see. It's high contrast. It's confidence, and you're able to see it in the water and establish a cadence.
Most beautiful bait I own.
There it is.
It started out painted though, and now it's just worn down to bone, Jose.
Dude, Mike doesn't even know what color that used to be. He's like, I think that might have been gizzard. I don't even know. Like I said, I don't get hung up on color, man. I got some beautiful baits. I love what these guys do. I'm an addict. Like hands down, I got zero creativity. I'm reckless with money, and my wife allows it. So shame on her.
That's awesome.
That's her fault.
And I have kids so I can blame them. They have their own bait walls. So I mean, we're all addicted. And dude, hats off to the guys that lay color down. Some of my best baits look like absolute dog shit. And everybody gets so hung up on the pretty and the shiny. And this is there's a reason why it looks this way. It gets bit.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times too, like it's for me. I mean, at least my argument for the bone is like those dying fish, especially when it comes to like glides and stuff like that. The wounded bait fish, the ones that are kind of losing life, right? They start to lose the pigment. They start to turn that pale color. They start to like turn a little bit white. And especially if it's like, shad is the primary forage, right? The shad are like, they start off like a silverish color, whatever. There's greens, there's purples in there too, but like they end like this pale white color, like the same when we're sick, we all look pale white, right? And so like that's where I think the bone really kind of shines, and you're trying to mimic that wounded bait fish that's fleeing and then just kind of I don't feel good, I'm like dogging it a little bit and fleeing away and stuff like that. And so that's where I think kind of bone comes into play a little bit, at least for me.
See, I could also buy into that. All right, last one. All right, well, you know what? No, let me throw this one up there first too. Our buddy David Roy. Jose, what's your favorite crawler?
Dude, I gotta show it. Hold on.
Grab it. Then the next question is also a crawler question. And that's for everybody.
Jose had to go to his other bait room for it.
Yeah.
At the end of the other long wall.
I'm gonna have to go.
Jose, no stealing it off your daughter's board, buddy.
Shut your mouth.
That tells me he's doing that.
I know
he's doing it from.
You don't know me. Damn it, I wasn't ready for the test. It's actually tied up in the garage. It's the Jer Waller is my #1 crawler. Oh, here it is. All right, so this guy in blue, Jer Kong, he's out of Massachusetts, makes this crawler. That's hands down my favorite. So if they're not eating this, they will absolutely eat this. And this matches the hatch in all my waterways.
I just picked up my first one, Jose.
Hey, this is my #2. It's a no shit airplane. So I have been absolutely wrecked on this thing. Smallies absolutely destroy it. I reached out to a dude in Japan. I was laid up with COVID. I was on my deathbed, and somehow I got the gall to reach out to this random Japanese dude. I was like, "Hey, man, I played the sob story. I was in the military. I worked on F-16s. Can I please get one of your baits?" He's like, "You're the first dude ever overseas to reach out. I'll send you one. Just cover shipping." So I'm like, "Well, I gotta live now. I can't die. I want to fish it." But this is my 1-2 punch, man, and I will always have them tied on.
That crawler.
The country. I've caught him in Caddo, Texas on this thing, Lake Murray, down in Florida. It's just silly. The airplane just works. It makes no sense. But match the hatch, right, fellas?
That's badass.
All right, last one from Colby. You guys have a preference of the 1-piece or a 2-piece crawler? Do you find there to be a big difference and a time and place for either?
The fish tell you. Colby, that's the best advice I can give you, man. Tie one of each on and go out there. Dude, there's a lot of good crawlers out there that don't have to cost $1 million. Depth's NZ crawler. That thing is sick. I'll show you what. Where's that thing? I had to go to the study. Give me 1 second. I had to go upstairs. So that thing used to be yellow. That's actually how I won my first Pats, was on a night tournament or a weekend tournament. So, that thing is just ridiculous. They hit it so hard they fold the wings inside out. So I've had to bend that back a few times. But yeah, my suggestion is just grab 1-piece and a 2-piece and go to town. Fish will tell you right away.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I was
Austin,
just gonna say.
can you add to that?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say the same thing. There's always just a time and a place for those 2 pieces versus the 1 piece. I couldn't tell you what that time is, to be honest with you, but I prefer my 1 piece. I have a 2 piece version of ours, but I don't throw it nearly as often. Maybe it's just a confidence thing. I need to stop being such a pansy and just pick it up and go throw it. But
And that bait you make, Austin, that looks
just
sick.
time
dude.
and a place for each bait.
It looked good.
Thanks,
So-
man. Yeah, those ones were fun. I got to give shout out to Ian on that one. He's the one that was the brains behind it. Ian Rourke. You guys don't know who that guy is. Go give him a follow. He's cool.
So before we call it quits here, because we're done with the pinned comments here, I'm gonna put all 3 of you guys on the spot. And for Kyle and Austin, there's 2 questions. For Jose, this is 1 question. But we're gonna start with the question for all 3 of you. The most overrated swim bait out there right now, in your opinion. And if you don't feel comfortable answering this question, you don't have to. But I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Why are you trying to start shit? Don't do
Sean,
that.
I said at the beginning of this we wouldn't put them on the spot with anything.
I'll start. I'll say
I
it.
didn't do it.
I think all swim baits, all the big resin baits are overrated. They're all expensive. They're all big. They're all just big and expensive, man. They're all overrated.
Say it. Say the one.
Huh?
Just say it.
No.
Yeah, I'll go inward
Yes.
on this. I'm gonna reverse Uno this one. The throwback flea shad. I fucking hate that bait. I hate that bait. If someone asks me what my least favorite bait that we make is, I say the flea shad. I told the whole team, I'm like, discontinue this bait. I don't like it. I don't fish it. I don't like. It's just I don't think it's a great bait. But the problem is that it's responsible for 3 of the 5 biggest throwback fish ever caught. It just doesn't suit my style, and I don't believe in it. It's the one bait in our arsenal that I'm just like, I don't love it. Don't love it. It's a cover burning bait, and it just doesn't suit Minnesota style. But like Marshall's got 3 fish over 9 pounds in it in Texas because it's a burning shad bait. So there.
Cheeky, I like it.
I can shit on myself. That's fine.
I'll say it, man.
Yeah.
So it's not so much that the bait's overrated. Like, I don't like anything Berkeley puts out for swim baits. I'll come out and say it. They don't have any originality. You know, they came out with that Nessie, but they ripped off G-Flag. They won a damn award for it. That pisses me off. Exactly.
Yep.
That pisses me off. At least,
that was terrible.
yeah, absolutely. You see Iaconelli holding the damn bait on his boat. All of a sudden, he's a genius for coming up with this. Get the hell out of here.
Yep.
That pisses me off. As
Agreed.
a tackle shop owner, glad nobody's watching this, right? Because I'm a tackle shop guy. but I carry it. And I tell people when they pick it up, they're like, hey, man, is this a good bait? I'm like, I don't think so. I'm very honest with folks. I'm like, pick up the 9-inch because the odds are the 9 inches, at least you're able to swim it out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the 7-inch, you got a 1 in 3 shot. The 5-inch, put it back in the box. But, you know, it's just what it is. You know, the other thing for me is 6th Sense. Again, I had a Flow Glide. I bought into that. I threw it, and it looked like absolute dog shit. I mean, I wouldn't even expect a kid to throw into the blender. You won't see 6th Sense in the shop. That's how I look at that. As far as the resin world, there's a lot of drama and all that bullshit that comes into it. End of the day, it comes down to the bait maker. Like the 2 dudes down here that are talking right now, this is what you want. You want to reach out to you want to support a guy that genuinely is into it. You heard them. They're not fishing every day. They gave that shit up to make cool things for us. We support these guys because we believe in what they're doing. We love the culture. Like I'm an addict. I absolutely love this culture more than anything else. The only time I get upset with the drama and all that bullshit, there's no such thing as one bait being better than the other. It's in the eye of the beholder. We all have our favorites. I'm a whore when it comes. I mean, look at the wall. I can't even say no. I go to the gathering I save up to go to the gathering every year. My wife does. Like we're into it. More for the culture, more support friends. Everything Daniel, clickbaits. Daniel's my boy. Anything he makes, I'm buying. He's just an awesome dude. I love that guy. You know, Buka. I have a whole buka. I mean, I probably have a whole wall full of buka shit that's not even in the frame right now.
A whole room.
You know, we sleep on swim baits. You guys don't do that. You guys are weirdos.
Yeah.
No, but that's
Stuff
what it
my
is.
pillows with glides.
For me, I mean, that's just how I look at it. The part I have an issue is when that bait maker looks at their shit doesn't stink, and there's not a lot of them out there. I've been fortunate, man. I somehow was able to fall in this clique of the swim bait world where I got along with 90% of the people out there. And if there's someone out there that hates me, I don't know about it. I'm a smart ass. I'm rude. I'm crude. But at the end of the day, I believe it's about the community aspect of things. I've seen these biggest assholes talk all this shit on Swimbait Universe and raise $20,000 for somebody's kid that got sick. You know, what other communities out there like that? At the end of the day, maybe the flea shad does suck. I don't have one. I'm sorry, Kyle. Austin, I just got turned on to this bait. Isabella had to buy 2 baits. I told her she could buy any one bait this last gathering, right? Of course, she picks a throwback bunny, which I had to take a second mortgage out to get. And then done, she got her 1 bait. Then she sees fucking Austin's frog. Oh, I have to have that.
Nice.
So she buys that one too. Now this kid got 2 baits out of me. I'm like, holy shit. But
Swindled you.
again, man, for me, it's not about that hype. It's not about everything I have on this wall has been fished or is gonna be fished. I can't say everything because honestly, I was cleaning my room out the other day and I found baits I forgot I bought. I'm like, damn it. They're gonna get thrown.
You know where I live, Jose. That's all we're gonna say. All right, so we're gonna ask one more question, then we're gonna close it up. It's been a long stream. It's been a great stream. You 3, if you had to pick one bait to throw for the rest of your life, what are you throwing?
Are we being like specific, like name, brand, size, everything?
One bait, not one type. One bait, one specific bait.
I'll say that our Metro Glide. What a douchey answer, I know, but it's just like it's
Not at all.
it's like it's just what I've thrown the most. Is I have the most confidence on it. I feel like I call it my swim bait Senko. Like I feel like I could outfish someone with a jig with that bait. So that's my go-to.
Whoa.
Careful, Austin
You know
trademark
what
that.
I'm
1v1. 14-pound
all right.
only.
It's gonna happen.
14-pound test. Let's do it.
Yeah. You get me on the river with the Metro. I don't know, man. I don't know. You on the boat, me on the paddleboard.
Yes.
I'm in the kayak doing it. That's mine.
Nice.
That bull rat all day.
Who makes that bull rat, Jose, for the viewers out there?
Yeah. Mike Buka, bullshad.
Man,
I'll show you the bait.
I was like, oh, show and tell.
I like it.
This is the one I would choose. It's all covered in resin, dust, and sand and shit.
Oh, that's a good choice.
The
Yeah.
psycho
Probably
trout.
the 2-piece
Yeah.
psycho trout.
Classic.
I've beaten the shit out of this bait, man.
I
I caught. Oh,
We have twins.
yeah, same one. Yeah, I've beaten the
Russell
shit out of
Larry
this thing,
Myers
man.
right there.
That's the one.
Very nice.
Yeah, this was responsible for 2 over 7 and 1. No, not an 8. It was 787. But either way,
damn.
just put up like 30 pounds at the end of the last year.
That's awesome. He makes good stuff too.
Yeah, Joey makes some good shit. That cycle kills legit too.
Yeah, that's the one I need to get a hold of, man. I regret selling the one I had, but
I got you.
whatever. You got one?
I do. I have one.
The
I
psycho
I've
go?
Senko,
got 2 on it.
Austin, you need one?
Yeah, I do.
Sean's got
actually.
like 8.
We'll talk, buddy. I may have one for you.
Yeah, shoot me. Yeah, once this is all done, shoot me a message.
We'll work something
got-
out here.
I got a whole thing of baits over here. We'll figure it out.
oh, yeah.
All right. Guys, I cannot thank you all enough. This was fucking awesome. Like, it was nice talking shop with you guys, being able to share your knowledge and experience with everything. And answer a bunch of questions that people threw up in the chat too. Kyle, I know you got to get going, so I want to wrap this up for you too. And I'm seeing people are dropping off usually by about the 2-hour mark. At least here on the East Coast, people start getting really sleepy really fast. That's about all they can handle for this. So we will wrap it up. One more reminder again, this weekend, New Hampshire Outdoor Expo at the Hampshire Dome in Milford, New Hampshire. We'll be there, so please come on by. Kyle, Jose, Austin, don't care in either order. If you guys want really quick, throw out your social medias so people know where to find you guys, especially websites for your baits, and then we'll wrap this thing up and call it a night.
Sweet. Kyle Buckles, Throwback Baits, throwbackbaits.com, Throwback Baits on Instagram, Throwback Baits on Facebook. Simple.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, we're the same. It's just Sensei Swimbaits on Instagram and Facebook, and then senseiswimbaits.com.
I'm VUI Jose on Facebook. You can get a hold of me at Doc's Tackle on Instagram or Doc's Tackle on Facebook.
585-229 Bass, baby. Right?
That's right.
There it is. So just real quick before Sean wraps it up, join us next week. We're going to be talking rods, all things Douglas rods. We have Christian Colabelli joining us next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, to go over power, action, everything Douglas rods. And it's only going to be rods, not line, not reels, not baits, rods only. No questions other than rods will be entertained. We're looking forward to another great show with Christian for Douglas rods. So it's going to be great. So anyways, thanks again, fellas, for joining us here to talk about swim bait stuff. I feel like we just barely scratched the surface too. So we're definitely going to have to do this again in a few months or a year from now. We'll have to have a little reunion tour and start to do this again on a regular basis.
I would love to have the three of you back on like middle of the summer. You got everybody hyped. They're interested. Quite a few new people I saw in the chat that really want to do this. So it'd be nice to circle back on this in like 3 or 4 months and give a little bit more, information and help for them. But make sure we'll make that happen. But again, Jose, Austin, Kyle, Sean, thank you all. Appreciate you guys. Everybody else watching the stream, thank you very much. Everybody have a great night. We'll catch you next week.